Okay, we'll try this again. All right. Is my hand back?
Yep.
All right. So, Marissa, I'm going to kind of review a little bit for those who aren't able to join us. So what this session is going to focus on is our analysis. Yesterday, you should have read chapter 1. And one thing that you should note is that the story is told from the point of view of a dog. So when you're reading about Buck, Buck is a dog. And we're going to look at conflict throughout this text. That's going to be the literary element that we focus on. So yesterday, I included a video for the chapter 1 conflict, and then I realized that you could watch the video, but you didn't have the handout. So that is linked today. It should prompt you to make a copy of it that you just put right into your Google Drive. If you'll rename that document with your last name and then Call of the Wild conflict, you won't actually share the document with me on Thursday. I'll have you, or you might do it by Saturday at noon. I'll have you upload that into Canvas so that I see 4 chapters. So the goal this week is to get through 4 chapters of the book. You do have a link so that you can listen to it. For some people, listening to the text really helps them. And the nice thing about the YouTube video I have uploaded is that it includes the text on the screen. So you can kind of read and listen at the same time. I know for some students that's helpful. So you have that option if you would like to. And there's also the PDF copy of the book. So I'm going to start here with chapter 2. It's called The Law of Club and Fang. Buck's first day on the Daya Beach was like a nightmare. Every hour was filled with shock and surprise. He had been suddenly jerked from the heart of civilization and flung into the heart of things primordial. No lazy, sun-kissed life was this, with nothing to do but loaf and be bored. Here was neither peace nor rest nor a moment's safety. All was confusion and action. I think we may have another. Oh, there's James. Good morning, James.
Hey.
All right. So, James, I am recording. If you'll turn your camera off, please.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And
Oh.
there should be a little camera button at the top of your screen. You just click on it. You'll still be there. There you go. So, James, I'm on chapter 2 of The Call of the Wild. That's going to be the focus for this.
All right.
Let's see. All was confusion and action, and every moment life and limb were in peril. There was imperative need to be constantly alert, for these dogs and men were not town dogs and men. They were savages, all of them. So what are some synonyms for savages? Marissa or James, either one of you.
Can barbarian be like one?
It can. Anything else you can think of, James? There would be a synonym for savages. I think James may have muted himself too. So barbarians works, animals work. So when Buck talks about savages, he's talking about not only the dogs, but the men. All of them who knew no law but the law of club and fang. So the men are carrying clubs to keep the control of the dogs. The dogs are using their teeth, we'll see in a little bit, as they fight. They fight for control, they fight for power, they fight for food, or they just fight to fight. He had never seen dogs fight as these wolfish creatures fought, and his first experience taught him an unforgettable lesson. It is true, it was a vicarious experience, else he would not have lived to profit by it. So vicarious means you watch somebody else go through the experience. You don't actually do it yourself. So he's learned a lesson based on watching two other dogs. Curly was the victim, so Curly's another dog. They were camped near the log store where she, in her friendly way, made advances to a husky dog the size of a full-grown wolf, though not half so large as she. There was no warning, only a leap like a flash, a metallic clip of teeth, a leap out equally swift, and Curly's face was ripped open from eye to jaw. It was the wolf manner of fighting, to strike and leap away. But there was more to it than this. 30 or 40 huskies ran to the spot and surrounded the combatants in an intent and silent circle. Buck did not comprehend that silent intentness, nor the eager way with which they were licking their chops. So this scene right here, when it's talking about these two dogs fighting, and it says that there's a group surrounding them. For a few years, I was an administrator for sixth graders. And when I saw that circle of people, whether it was in the hallway, in the gym, in the cafeteria, I knew something was up. And I always made sure, that I went and checked to see what was happening. Because, he's talking about dogs here, but people do the same thing if there's a fight, especially in middle school. People are going to circle up and watch. Buck did not comprehend that silent intentness, nor the eager way with which they were licking their chops. Curly rushed her antagonist, or her enemy, who struck again and leaped aside. He met her next rush with his chest in a peculiar fashion that tumbled her off her feet. She never regained them. This was what the onlooking huskies had waited for. They closed in upon her, snarling and yelping, and she was buried, screaming with agony beneath the bristling masses of bodies. So sometimes when humans are fighting, like physically fighting, it starts off with two people, but then the others who were surrounding get involved. And so even in chapter 2, as early as chapter 2, you're starting to see conflict. In this case, it's dog versus dog. Sometimes you might have man versus dog, as we'll find in just a few minutes, or you might have man versus man, where two people don't agree and there's some conflict. So sudden was it and so unexpected that Buck was taken aback. He saw Spitz, this is another dog, run out his scarlet tongue in a way he had of laughing, and he saw Francois, now Francois is a man, swinging an axe, spring into the mess of dogs. 3 men with clubs were helping him to scatter them. It did not take long. 2 minutes from the time Curly went down, the last of her assailants were clubbed off. But she lay there limp and lifeless in the bloody trampled snow, almost literally torn to pieces. The swart half-breed standing over her and cursing horribly. The scene often came back to Buck to trouble him in his sleep. So that was the way. No fair play. Once down, that was the end of you. Well, he could see to it that he never went down. Spitz ran out his tongue and laughed again, and from that moment, Buck hated him with a bitter and deathless hatred. So here you see some conflict brewing. Buck hates Spitz. There's going to be some issue with these two dogs. Have either one of you ever seen a dog fight before?
Sometimes on TV, but not in real life.
Not in real life. My brother-in-law was taking care of his son's 2 dogs who are friendly and normally get along, but for some reason one day out in the yard they started fighting, and he made the mistake of getting in the middle of them, and one of the dogs bit off the end of one of his fingers. Like, he had to go have surgery. Yeah, that's something you don't want to do. And cats are awful too. Don't ever get in the middle of a cat fight. Spray a hose at them or something while you're far away, but don't get in the middle.
That's already too late. My cats try to kill each other.
Yes, cat fights are awful. Before he had recovered from the shock caused by the tragic passing of Curly, he received another shock. Francois, remember Francois is a man, fastened upon him an arrangement of straps and buckles. It was a harness such as he had seen the grooms put on the horses at home, and as he had seen horses work, so he was set to work, hauling Francois on a sled to the forest that fringed the valley, and returning with a load of firewood. So Buck, who had lived on this big farm, had a whole lot of freedom, could go in the house when he wanted to, could play with the grandchildren. He's now become a work dog. Though his dignity was sorely hurt by thus being made a draught animal, draught is just a fancy word for work animal, he was too wise to rebel. So here you see another conflict, man versus dog. In this case, man wins out. He has the harness. He buckled down with a will and did his best, though it was all new and strange. Francois was stern, demanding instant obedience, and by virtue of his whip, receiving instant obedience, while Dave, who was an experienced wheeler, nipped Buck's hindquarters whenever he was in error. Spitz was the leader, likewise experienced, and while he could not always get at Buck, he growled sharp reproof now and again, or cunningly threw his weight in the traces to jerk Buck into the way he should go. Buck learned easily, and under the combined tuition of his two mates and Francois, made remarkable progress. Ere they returned to camp, he knew enough to stop at hoe, to go ahead at mush, to swing wide on the bends, and to keep clear of the wheeler when the loaded sled shot downhill at their heels. So one of the things you need to take note of is Spitz is the leader. And remember, Buck hates Spitz. So you can predict there's going to be some issue here. So if you watched our video yesterday, I'm going to stop there. You have this conflict analysis that we're going to work on. Now, I don't expect, you guys are virtual, you may not have Post-it notes at home, you may not even have access to a printer. If you do print these out and you don't have Post-it notes, but you want to do that part of the activity, you can just cut some of the notebook paper and like tape it up there. The goal is to have a picture on the Post-it note that you lift up and you write the quote here. So in your document that you made a copy of to put in your Google Drive, you'll actually type your quotes here if you're doing everything on the computer, and then you'll type your explanation in here. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I'm hoping James is still there. And James, you might be writing in the comments. I just can't see them.
I'm here.
Okay, I can't see the comments while I'm doing this. So we're going to take a look.
Comments?
If you look at the top of your screen, there's a little, it looks like this
button.
shape. It looks like this shape. If you click on that, there's a little chat.
I don't think I have one of those.
Yeah, it's there, and maybe I have to click on it. But while I'm sharing the screen, I can't see all of that. So I'm choosing for chapter 2, we're going to focus on this quote, the man versus dog, because this is the first time Buck has to decide he's going to follow directions if he's going to survive, that he can't fight against these men. So what you'll do is write or type your quote here, and you copy it exactly as it is because I copied it directly from the book. Though his dignity was sorely hurt by thus being made a draught animal, he was too wise to rebel. And this is called a citation. We'll talk about research skills a little later in the semester. But if you'll put London and 19, London is the author's last name. And then page 19 is where I got it from. It's probably a different page number in your document. But for now, just put London and 19. So as we go throughout this semester, part of what we're going to practice is providing textual evidence for everything. You need textual support. This is going to help you on the EOC. It's going to help you on your testing next year that you have with the ACT and the SAT. So what we've done below the quote is I have two sentences. The first sentence summarizes the scene, and the second sentence explains why that conflict is important, or in this case, what does Buck learn from it? So my summary is Buck has been harnessed by Francois so he can pull a sled. That's the scene. And then the analysis is, even though he was a pet in his former life, he understands, and when I say he, I mean Buck, he cannot fight against the harness if he wants to live. So Buck has a strong will to live, and he realizes he needs to, let do his work, be harnessed, go where they tell him to go. So your task today is to finish up reading chapter 2. Tomorrow for chapter 3, you'll fill in the column for chapter 3, which is over here, but you're going to be on your own. So you had a model for chapter 1 and now a model for chapter 2. You'll have to do chapter 3 on your own. Thursday when we meet, we'll discuss chapter 4. So by the end of the week, you should have 4 columns completed. And again, I realize you may not have a Post-it note, so you can't do the picture part, and that's okay.
All right.
You're not going to be penalized for that.
Okay.
The other thing, so before I move on, do you have questions about this, the conflict analysis?
No.
Marissa, any questions about conflict analysis?
No, ma'am.
Okay. vocabtest.com. Do you have any questions about that?
Why do you hate us?
Why would you say that?
Because why would you give us a vocab?
Well, the teacher response is next year you're taking ACT and SAT. You need this vocabulary. You are also on your EOC, you are going to have higher level text. The English 2 EOC is infinitely more challenging than any reading test you've ever taken.
Wait.
And you need the vocabulary.
This vocabulary thing, that's not those like 3-letter things where it's like meaning something, right? Like in 8th grade.
James, I honestly have no earthly idea what you're talking about.
You mean stems?
Yes, stems.
Oh, no. We're beyond that. So
Okay,
this
good.
is,
I hate
yeah,
those things.
oh, okay. Now, my assumption is you had that in elementary and middle school. So
No, I had it in middle school.
yeah. So this week's vocabulary is just more practice with the list you worked with last week. So do you see on your screen this practice test for vocabulary workshop?
Yeah, do I press start?
Okay. No, please don't.
Oh.
Number 1, you don't need to log in. You're not creating an account for this, okay? No, today your task is to do vocabulary sentences.
Wait, don't log in?
Don't log in. No.
You can still see it though, right?
Yes. So what you do at the end, you answer.
It's the 9th grade with the letters that begin with H, I, J, and K. Can please go to the auditorium at this time.
Wait, are you in the school, Miss Vickers?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I am teaching, well, no, there's nobody in my classroom right now.
Oh.
You guys are my class during second block.
Oh, for real?
First block I have face-to-face, and fourth block I have face-to-face. So I'm doing it all, which is why.
What's it like face-to-face?
It's interesting because, only a few students come a day.
How many?
So like
5?
today in my fourth block, I'll only have 1 student.
1 student.
Yeah, this morning in my first block, I only had 4 students. So,
Is that kind of awkward? Just like one student there?
well, thankfully, the one I taught her 2 years ago when she was a freshman, so we kind of know each other, but I'm doing my live team meeting on that day, today with them so that it's not so awkward, but you're right. I mean, I kind of like the small group because you get a little bit more accomplished, but anyway, I digress. So when you get to the end of, I think it asks you, yeah, see down here, it asks you 20 questions. When you get to the end of that, there's going to be a little box in the upper right-hand corner for you to type your name. And then if you scroll down all the way to the very bottom, there's a place for you to put my email address.
What's
So
your email?
it's Stacy, Stacy.
Oh, shoot. Hold up. I need a pencil.
Well, it's on Canvas too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I put it on Canvas for you guys. And there's a video with directions on how to do just this. So if you look on this week's announcement, the bottom on the far right, there's a video for how to do this. So yesterday you were supposed to do, let me see if it'll let me go back. Yep, yesterday you did learning definitions and emailed me. Today you're doing vocabulary sentences and then emailing me. And tomorrow it will be synonym practice and you'll email me that. And then Thursday, we will do a crossword puzzle through PBS Learning Media. And then Friday, you have your first vocabulary quiz. I don't know if you read the announcement or not.
How many questions are on that quiz?
Good question, James. So there are 20 questions, and the way it's going to be set up is that you'll have 5 sentences, and then you'll have 5 words, and basically you have to match the word with the sentence.
Oh, so like in 9th grade.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of similar.
Okay. So you'll have 4 sections with 5 different sentences. That's 20 sentences total, but you get to choose. You are also going to be allowed to use your notes.
All right.
So all of like you were supposed to write down the words last week and the definitions and a synonym. You can use any of that to help you. It is timed. So
It's timed?
It is timed for 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Yes. And it will be open on Friday only from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So you have 4 hours to take it. I mean, that's not 4 hours, 8 hours. An 8-hour time frame, you get 30 minutes. So once you start it, you have to finish it. You can't pause it and get up and walk away.
What happens if you don't finish it in 30 minutes?
It's going to count the ones you didn't do as incorrect.
Yikes.
So, throughout the rest of the week, if you feel like you need some more notes written down, but we figure with 20 sentences, 30 minutes should be enough.
We have to write 20 sentences?
No, so when you open up the quiz on.
It's going to be like sentences and you have to like put the words in the right places or something?
You got it, exactly.
Oh, yeah, just like 9th grade.
Okay.
They're easy.
Okay, well, good, we hope so. We want you to really try to learn the words. And we're letting you use your notes because we know you're virtual and you're going to do it anyway. So
Yeah, there's no
yeah, we might as well make it a part of, the process. So the people who take the time to do all of the activities, you're right, James, it should be pretty easy.
All right.
All right. Any other questions about anything else dealing with the class?
And where's the vocabulary thing at in Canvas? I forgot.
If you go to Tuesday,
Yeah.
under announcements, it's there.
Okay. It just says vocabulary practice.
Yeah, it says vocabtest.com. Yep.
All right.
All right. Marissa, do you have any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it. If you have friends in the class